This conference will now be recorded.
Welcome to today's session on LR0 programmer. So, before discussing the procedure of how to identify if a given context-free grammar is LR0 or not, we'll first introduce what does the elements LR0 in LR0 grammar actually mean. The symbol L in LR0 grammar means that it is a left to right scan made by the parser. Symbol R denotes rightmost derivation performed by the parser in reverse order. Symbol 0 within parentheses indicates number of locate symbols used by the parser to identify the given string. So LR0 grammar as a name indicates that it has three components L, R and 0. L indicates left-right scan made by the parser. Capital R indicates rightmost derivation performed by the parser in reverse order. And 0 indicates number of locate symbols that are used by the parser to identify a given string. We know that the class of formal languages are actually divided into four categories: type 0, type 1, type 2, type 3, wherein type 0 is unrestricted grammar, type 1 is context sensitive, type 2 is context free, type 3 is regular grammar. For a grammar to be validated as LR0 grammar or not an LR0 grammar, remember that it should first fall under the category of type 1 grammar. What I mean to say is, if the given grammar is context-free grammar, then and only then we will try to validate the possibility of this grammar being an LR0 grammar. Otherwise, we are not concerned about such grammars to be LR0 or not. For example, if you take unrestricted grammar, we can directly conclude that the grammar cannot be LR0 grammar. Similarly, if you take a context-sensitive grammar, we can conclude it as not to be an LR0 grammar. Similarly, if you take a regular grammar, we can directly conclude that the grammar is not LR0 grammar. However, there are instances where a regular grammar can be LR0 grammar because of the reason that it satisfies the property of LR0 grammar. This is because of the reason that regular grammars are subset of context-free grammars. So because regular grammars are subset of context-free grammars, we can also consider regular grammar to be a context-free grammar. And in case if such a grammar satisfies the property of LR0 grammar, we can categorize them to be regular LR0 grammar. But the problem with such categorization is that such kind of grammars or grammar productions cannot be used for arithmetic evaluation. They are restricted to only syntax checking and syntax validation. So keep this point in your mind. So in a loose sense, although you can categorize regular languages or regular grammars to be LR0 grammars, but in a strict sense, remember that we are mainly restricting the categorization of grammar productions to be LR0 grammar if and only if the given grammar is context free in nature. Now that we have understood what is the minimum condition for a given grammar to be LR0, we'll look into the first approach which can be applied to prove that a grammar is not LR0. Remember that this approach which we are discussing cannot be used to prove that a given grammar is LR0, but it can only be used to prove that a given grammar is not LR0. So we refer to such a procedure as football. The football we mean that we are using some property so as to prove that the given grammar is not LR0. But unfortunately, this property cannot be used to prove that grammar is LR0. So there is some restriction with respect to this particular procedure. The procedure proves the grammar is not LR0, but unfortunately, the procedure cannot be applied to prove that the given grammar is LR0. So this is what the limitation we speak with respect to this particular procedure, which shall be discussed in this session. That is the reason why we are calling it as a football. Remember that when we say football, we are referring to something called as an incomplete procedure, but wherein using that incomplete procedure, you are able to answer the specification or decision problem is given context free grammar LR0 or not LR0. So we are addressing the decision problem by taking into consideration context free grammar and proving that the context free grammar is not LR0. We are not proving the context free grammar is LR0. We are proving context free grammar as not LR0. So this procedure is about proving the context free grammar is not LR0 and the context free grammar can be LR0. A different rule should be adapted, and then we have to conclude the possibility of such a grammar being LR0. So we now discuss about the procedure to identify if a given grammar is LR0 or not. And our procedure is basically about testing if the given grammar is ambiguous. So to verify if a given grammar is ambiguous, there is a conventional procedure wherein you can prove that a randomly chosen string can be derived in two or more ways. The moment you are able to prove that a randomly chosen string can be derivable using two or more derivation ways, you can say that the grammar is ambiguous. The moment you say that given grammar is ambiguous, this method concludes the given grammar not to be an LR0 grammar. So to identify if a given grammar is LR0 grammar or not, this method uses the possibility of identifying and proving grammar to be ambiguous. And once we prove grammar to be ambiguous, eventually we can come to the conclusion that it is no more an LR0 grammar. So having some introduction regarding the approach which will be discussed in the coming slides, which we call as a football. Here is the football statement. Given a context-free grammar, if we are able to prove that the context-free grammar is ambiguous, then eventually we can conclude the given grammar is not LR0 grammar. This means that if you are able to prove that the given context-free grammar has the property of ambiguity, or shows the property of ambiguity, then the grammar is definitely not an LR0 grammar. Now, what happens if the given grammar is not ambiguous? That is, the given grammar is unambiguous. When the given grammar is unambiguous, there is no chance that you can say such a grammar is LR0. So, this football does not solve the purpose in a contradictory denomination, but is only restricted with respect to the property of ambiguity. Provided that the grammar is ambiguous, declare that grammar is not an LR0 grammar. If the grammar is not ambiguous, don't come to the conclusion that it is an LR0 grammar. So, having known about the football, we'll now look into the case how to identify if a given grammar is ambiguous. So, many times, context free grammars may have grammar productions such that the non-terminal symbol present on the left-hand side of grammar production may appear twice or more on the RHS part of the grammar production. When productions are in the above mentioned form, we can directly say that such grammars introduce the property of ambiguity, or those grammars are ambiguous in nature. So to identify if a given grammar is ambiguous or not, no doubt you can apply the conventional approach wherein we can derive a randomly chosen string in two or more possible ways and show that structure of the two parse space generated happens to be different, and so the grammar is ambiguous. Alternately, instead of proving the grammar to be an ambiguous grammar using the process of derivation, we can apply this lemma to prove a given grammar is ambiguous. So instead of going for a derivation approach, we can conclude the given grammar is ambiguous grammar by using a simple verification process wherein we should be able to identify from the given context free grammar set of productions whether there is any production such that the non-terminal present on the left-hand side of the grammar production appears twice or more on the RHS part of the same grammar production. So if there is at least one production in the given grammar such that this property holds good, then you can say that given grammar is ambiguous in nature. The moment you say the given grammar is ambiguous in nature, you can conclude that the context free grammar at your hand is not an LR0 grammar. So that would be the importance of validating ambiguity to answer the decision problem. Is the given grammar LR0? So what I mean to say is the problem of identifying if the context free grammar is LR0 or not refers to the problem of identifying if the given grammar is ambiguous or unambiguous. So if you know the solution with respect to ambiguity, you have a solution with respect to LR0. So if you are able to prove that the grammar is ambiguous, it means that we can eventually boil down and conclude that given grammar is no more LR0 grammar. Then having known how to identify a given grammar to be ambiguous by referring to non-terminal symbol present on the left-hand side for a possibility of it being present on the RHS part of the grammar production twice or more. We are minimizing the process of derivation. However, we cannot expect always that all ambiguous grammars have left-hand side non-terminal symbols to be present on the RHS more than once. In such cases, we have to look for other possibilities for proving the given grammar is ambiguous, or alternately, we can construct parse trees by randomly choosing an input string which belongs to the language, and then prove that the given context-free grammar is ambiguous through deriving two or more ways in which the string can be reached. In such a case, the context-free grammar is ambiguous. So, having known about procedure to identify if a context-free grammar is LR0 or not, we'll now look into a working example. So here is the example one. Consider the following context-free grammar whose productions are given by e raise e plus e, e raise e star e, e raise e, and verify if the context-free grammar is LR0. By looking at this particular production, we have the following information that capital E is the only non-terminal which is available as part of non-terminal set in this grammar. Symbols plus star A are the only terminal symbols present in the given grammar. Capital E is the start symbol of the grammar, and these are the set of productions. Now we can see that symbol E is present on the LHS part of the production, and this symbol happens to be a non-terminal symbol. Also, the symbol E present on the left-hand side of the first production appears twice on the RHS part of the same production. Similarly, when we look out at second production, E dash E star E, the symbol E present on the left-hand side of the grammar production appears twice on the RHS part of the same grammar production. Finally, when you take E dash A production, the symbol present on the non-term on the left-hand side of the production does not appear twice or more on the RHS part of the grammar production. However, because the first two productions have the left-hand side non-terminal appearing more than once on the RHS part of the production, we can conclude that this given grammar is ambiguous. The moment we say that the given grammar is ambiguous, we can come to the conclusion that it is no more LR0 grammar. Hence, the solution for this particular problem is the given grammar is not LR0. Now we can look into another example wherein we have five productions: capital E dash E plus E, capital E dash E minus E, capital E dash E star E, capital E dash E slash E, and capital E dash E. The objective is to once again identify if the given grammar is LR0 grammar or not. So, as discussed in the previous example, here capital E is the only non-terminal which is available as part of non-terminal set. The terminals that we take into consideration, which are part of this particular grammar, are plus, minus, star, slash, and small a. So there is a single non-terminal and 5 terminals as part of the given grammar. Start symbol for this grammar is capital E, and then productions are these set of productions. Now, to identify if this given grammar is LR0 grammar or not LR0 grammar, in this approach, our aim is to prove that the grammar is not LR0 grammar. So, to prove the grammar is not LR0 grammar, we are forced to prove that grammar is ambiguous. And if we are able to prove that the grammar is ambiguous, then eventually we can boil down to the conclusion that it is no more an LR0 grammar. So look out these productions or 5 productions: E raise E plus C, E raise E minus C, E raise E star E, and E raise E slash E, and E raise A. Of these 5 productions, 4 productions have their left hand side non-terminal appearing twice on the RHS part of the production. Because the left hand side non-terminal symbol appears twice on the RHS part of these productions, therefore all these 4 productions introduce the property of ambiguity, and hence this grammar is ambiguous in nature. Because this given grammar is ambiguous in nature, it cannot be an LR0 grammar. Now we shall look into another example where we will apply the same football once again. Here we have 3 productions: E raise E plus C, E raise E star E, and E raise parenthesis D. Apart from these 3 productions, we have one more production, capital E raise E. Here our objective is to verify if the given grammar is LR0. Now, as far as football 1 is concerned, by applying football 1, we can only prove that grammar is not LR0, but there is no way of proving that grammar is LR0. We can only prove that grammar is not LR0. There is no way that we can prove it to be an LR0 grammar. So, try to prove that the grammar is ambiguous in nature. So, if you can look out into the first 2 productions, capital E derives E plus C, and then capital E derives E star E. By looking into these 2 productions, we can verify that symbol E highlighted in yellow denomination appears twice on RHS part of the first production. At the same time, symbol E on the left hand side of the grammar production appears twice on the RHS part of the second grammar production. So because this symbol E is appearing twice on the RHS part of first and second grammar production, these 2 grammar productions introduce the property of ambiguity. Hence, we can conclude that this grammar is ambiguous. So, though production number 3 and production number 4 does not have left hand side symbol appearing twice on the RHS part of the grammar production, but still, because first 2 productions have their LHS symbol appearing twice on RHS part of the production, therefore, we have to conclude the grammar to be ambiguous. The moment we conclude the grammar as ambiguous, we can prove or give a statement that grammar is no more LR0 grammar. So because the given grammar is ambiguous, it eventually proves that the grammar is no more an LR0 grammar, or it's not an LR0 grammar. This finishes the session confined to football 1 application to prove that the grammar is not LR0. In the next session, we'll try to look out for some other set of footballs which can be used to judge if a given grammar is LR0 grammar or not.